The summer of terror continues. Get out the suntan lotion, chill on the beach if you can, and lay in the sun for no fun, because it's more 1995 right here, Union Smack Retro Review. What's going on, man? Welcome back, Matt, my co-host. Hi. Where can everyone catch you?
You can catch me on Twitter as per usual at The Perfect Tenant. You can log on to our online store, unionsmack.bigcartel.com, for an official shirt from all of your shows, Travis. And you can go to completelynovel.com, where you can purchase a copy of my book, The Undertaker, A Trip Down Death Valley. And you know what? I'm going to say it again. I say it every fucking goddamn week. But my second book, NXT UK Year 1, it's so close to completion. I've got the introduction, I've got the afterword to edit, and then I'm done with editing it all. I just need the last few pictures and the covers drawn, and we're ready to go.
There you go. The time is almost here and near. I can't wait.
Almost.
I can't. Like I said every week, if the Undertaker book's any indication of the quality of this book's going to be, cannot wait for it to drop, guys. Get over there, pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of Matt's book, and hit that red subscribe button down below here on YouTube. All the goodness, retro gaming, pro wrestling, heavy metal podcast, and catch me now every Monday night between 11 and 12 Eastern. Monday Night Melee Broken Optics, where we play all sorts of good fighting games, retro, new. It's fun, it's new, and yeah, I'm enjoying doing it. I am not going to enjoy doing this, though. It is time to review, quite possibly, Matt, the worst show, and that's saying a lot, that we've ever reviewed in the history of this 3 years show. King of the Ring 1995, the infamous, notorious, oh, God, what were they thinking, man?
I can't even answer that question, because I watched this 3 days ago. It was worse than I remember it as a kid. You know, I've watched it several times since throughout the years, and it gets worse and worse every time. Like from the booking to the matches to just every decision. So you could take every match on this card and think, what the fuck were you thinking there? What were you booking that for there? Just awful. And you said, like, you're not going to enjoy this. I don't think the next few weeks are going to be pleasurable for us at all. I'm going to be honest.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Even though SummerSlam '95 has a soft spot in my heart, not the main event for that, but we're gonna round out the summer with that one. We'll get there soon enough, but we got to get through the Band-Aid that is King of the Ring '95 and rip this off. First and foremost, I put out the tweet today, like, when you look at this bracket for this year's King of the Ring in '95 and some of the names in it, it's mind-blowing that even the two guys it came down to, and how many flat-out legends were eliminated in the first round of this. It's fucking pathetic. And especially the state the business was in '95.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you had, like, The Undertaker, who was reaching fever pitch. You had Shawn Michaels, who just, he turned babyface, actually. I mean, even like Sparky Plug, God bless him, and we'll get to him in a little bit. He wasn't a legend by any means, but I felt that Bob Holly was one of the men who actually put in the most effort during this, and he got nothing out of it. This was all Mabel. This was Vince looking at Men on a Mission and going, they're the next top. Well, Mabel's the next top guy. Mo underneath him as a partner/manager, and let's go all the way. Who cares about a Shawn Michaels babyface run, or who cares about Undertaker getting the big push? They've already got their stories coming.
Right. Now, I get wanting to make new stars. I get that. But when your company's already in the doldrums and fresh, hot off the heels of the steroid trial, the lowest business, the lowest drawing champion so far in company history, up there with Roman Reigns from 2016, it's unbelievable that, I mean, this is when they should have rested on their laurels and gone with the tried guy that was already over. Just make him the king for the hell of it, just for cheap buys. If anything, You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, and if you're going to make a new star, how about make two new stars that people give two shits about? That might help. There's nothing redeeming with the two guys in my mind back then to now ever that I ever saw top of the card worthy was Savio Vega and Mabel. I'm sorry. And if you're a fan of both of those guys, you're going to hate our show today. Let me tell you.
Yeah, and you know what? I sort of get it with Savio Vega. Like he was new, not what, a month before In Your House. You know, he'd come in the upper to mid card level, saved Razor Ramon. You know, he was Razor Ramon's friend, and you know he lived off that for the next few months. So I can sort of see where Vince looked at Savio Vega and went, they don't really know him. Not many people know he was Quang, so let's give him a makeover and let's push him as the next big baby face. I can see that in principle. You know, on talent, it's a different matter. But Mabel, it's like this man who's been there since '93. He's shown no discernible talent in the. Even as a tag team wrestler, he was ultra limited. To look at him and go, yeah, next top guy. Just why? Like I know you've got Sid there. Sid wasn't great in the ring in '95, but fuck me, he had so much more personality about him than Mabel.
And, and dare I say he could work a better match. I mean, God, that bar is so low, but Christ, Sid was a better wrestler than Mabel. Can't
Yeah,
believe I just
undoubtedly. Yeah,
um now I'm trying to see it through Vince's eyes. When you're champion as a babyface who's 7 foot tall, the only guy that really made sense at the time was Shawn Michaels. You had already gotten a shot at Mania 11, and now they were the two dudes with attitude, Matt, newly turned babyface, like you said. The only other littler top heel I could really work with Diesel would be Jeff Jarrett. But then again, you're risking putting Double J Jeff Jarrett in your world title match on pay-per-view. I can see why they didn't go that route. But like I said, the risk you take is you need a heel who's either is equal in size or just as much of a threat. And looking at that roster back then, this was beyond the golden era. This wasn't the 80s anymore where you had guys that size who could be billed in such a spot. No, it wasn't. And it was the new generation, and I get it. And sometimes you got to take a risk, but my God, I'm going to say my God a lot. There should be a counter for how many times I'm going to say it. Let's just jump right into it. This emanated from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Doc Hendricks is back on commentary. I know how excited you are for that.
Oh God, I've got notes on him later. I think it was just like, why not? The worst show WWE have arguably ever put on. Why not have the worst commentary team they could possibly dig up?
Why not? In the worst suits you could possibly wear. Once again, now I said this aired from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is the first time because the promotion was kind of just hitting its stride, getting on the radar. This is the first time I ever vividly remember audible ECW chants at any WWF show. Was this?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really. They didn't really like draw me into it until the main event, I think. But so when they got going, they could tell it was a shit show. Clearly, you know, they were very, very audible, and I like that WWE left them in and didn't dub them over on the network.
Yeah, and it's pretty funny too that the ECW hat guy sitting front row on the hard cam this whole
Yeah,
show, and he was
yeah.
getting into it. I mean, give him credit.
You can tell everybody around him as well was like die-hard ECW fans, and
You
like
had
by the
that
end,
guy. You had the Faith No More guy, that long hair guy with that always wore the dark shades. That was always at
yeah,
ECW. You're right. You had like Vlad. All those that ECW fan base was there front and center because it was in Philly for sure. I'm pretty sure this was a brand new arena too that had just opened up in Philly. One of the first shows emanate from.
yeah. I think they said that throughout the broadcast that yeah, it had just been built and opened, and well, what one of the first shows to go on there. What a fucking show they picked.
Now, here's a fun Travis fact before we run down the card. If you remember at the time, because they showed a vignette at the very beginning of the show, the King of the Ring blimp. You know what I'm talking about? With
Yes.
Pilot Kerwin Selface and blah blah blah. It was about an hour and a half away from my house, an hour at the most. And literally, one day we saw the blimp fly over my backyard, and I was playing outside. It was amazing. I'll never forget that. And I wish that my dad and I, and my mom would have taken a picture. But no, I can legit say it happened. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Now we talked about, if you look at this bracket on paper, I mean, there's not just the Undertaker, former world champion, in this tournament. This show started with another former WWF champion doing the JOB, Savio Vega, Yokozuna, Matt. Round one action.
Round one action. But before that, Travis, actually, did you watch the network version or did you watch the DVD version?
I watched the network version.
So did I. I'm assuming you got Savio Vega and IRS before this.
Well, I'm not counting that because that happened on the pre-show, but yeah, that was a qualifying match. Savio and IRS. So technically, that's how Savio wrestled in 4 nights, 4 matches in one night. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was
I mean,
the
to get
Razor
him over,
Ramon
but
was
yeah.
actually supposed to be in there, and I don't know if it was kayfabe or he failed a piss test. I don't even know the true story to this day about the ribs, if that was legit with Razor.
No, nor do I. Nor do I. But can you? God, I still like even Razor going the distance, like 4 matches in one night and then losing to Mabel. Could not have seen this panning out any better than it did.
And it's crazy too because 1 year before at '94 King of the Ring, Razor went to Broadway too, all the way to the finals.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I
This
mean,
is not how you showcase a former world heavyweight champion. This is one of the worst Yokozuna matches I've probably ever seen.
he looked like shit. Like
Yeah.
this was a point that like he was done with the world title scene. He was in the tag team championship scene now. They dropped him down. He boosted his weight to something. I think Doc Hendricks said 650 something pounds. He was. He looked awful. He looked like he couldn't breathe through half of this match, and wow, just how the mighty fall in a short amount of time.
Literally nothing in this match stood out to me except Razor on the outside and shenanigans and all that because your opening match ending in a schmoz isn't my ideal way to kick off pay-per-view.
No, no. I mean, I I understand it as far as they want to stack the deck against Savio Vega. Yeah, they had him qualify not 10 minutes, 20 minutes before the pay per view went live, and then they give him the second biggest, monster in the tournament to face 20 minutes later. I get that. It makes him look somewhat better that he's going to topple the mountain, as it were. But Jesus Christ, could you not give him someone who could have done the job better? Because Yokozuna he traipsed around the ring. He looked heavy footed. He was out of breath, almost like 2 or 3 minutes in, and it did not look good.
There's absolutely positively no reason that Yokozuna shouldn't have been swapped out with Owen Hart in this match. I don't
No,
know what Vince's problem was with booking Owen prominently on anything at this time, but he wasn't anywhere on this pay-per-view. Possibly the best worker in the company besides his brother and Sean. Criminal not to feature him. Flat out.
yeah, yeah. And the only time we saw him was when he came down at the end of this to like initiate the final few seconds of Yokozuna getting counted out. And he wasn't even in his wrestling gear. He was in a tuxedo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awful.
Here's what I would have done, retrospect, even then. You could have still had Mabel win this thing if you want to get it to SummerSlam, but why not have Sean go all the way to the finals? Because then it's a story within a story. Mabel beat Diesel's little buddy in the finals, and that's more incentive for their main event at SummerSlam. That what?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. It's like I was almost in a coma by the end of this, and I've not given it much thought before. But you're right. It's a much better story. And then obviously, like Sean loses nothing in defeat and goes on to beat Razor for the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam in another second ladder match.
Yeah.
It works, but not in Vince's mind, Travis.
And dare I say, I don't even think I know they were trying to get Sean to be the next big babyface. I don't think Sean would have been hurt either if it was booked that way because Mabel's over 500 pounds. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, Sean would have worked 3 times that night anyway. So he put on a valiant effort. I don't think his character would have been damaged at all. I think it would have helped his character.
And I think he would have got a better match out of Yokozuna than Savio Vega ever could have done.
For sure. At the time, the possibility of having that dream match, Taker and Sean, and like just the routes this could have gone at the time was endless in a way. But we certainly didn't get that. And I think As soon as this first round was over, as soon as Taker was out, as soon as Shawn went to the time limit with Kama, you could really feel that excitement just drained instantly from the crowd. You know what I mean? You really could.
Yeah,
Because they
yeah, all the
wanted
favourites.
Shawn so bad. So you could feel it.
Well, they'd built Shawn up that way. You know, the attack by Sid, the baby face, the comeback. It was almost written that Shawn Michaels should have gone all the way and even arguably won the King of the Ring tournament. But for some reason, it's like you take a Shawn Michaels hot babyface run and people are with it after years of him being a dick. And then you look at Mabel next to him and you go, it's obviously going to be Mabel.
It would have been a strong fucking way to even still have like, because like my dad at the time, even though they turned Shawn babyface, he hated Shawn because he was the pretty boy character. It would have been a hell of an exclamation point to drive home that fact for the non-believers. Like, all right, Shawn's tough guy, but no, what the fuck do I know, man?
Honestly, this show is just full of like we could have booked this so much better in 5 minutes than it took Vince
I think
six
we just
months
did.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did. There you go.
Oh my God. I don't have
Oh,
anything else to say about this opening match other than it ended with what Yokozuna accidentally posting himself on the inside, outside, and get counted out. That was the finish.
I think Savio was meant to post him, but he couldn't shift him, so it looked like Yokozuna just ran into the post himself. And yeah, counted out. Savio Vega advances and supposedly looks like the all-conquering hero.
Now, I'll give the crowd credit for the IRS match and this. They both went apeshit for Sabio Vega, but that's because the crowd knew they still had Taker and Shawn to look forward to. Those cheers weren't quite as prevalent in the semifinals and the finals for Sabio, you know?
Yeah, the crowd just sort of died a death after. I think it was Taker went out last out of the
Uh,
big names. I
yeah.
think short, yeah, yeah. I think like after they'd seen like, oh, Taker ain't winning it, Shawn ain't winning it. We've just got Mabel to come.
I also hate, especially on a pay-per-view, when any company takes the chicken shit cheap way out and has like a both guys are eliminated, so there's a bye. It's so cheap, and when they did that and sent Mabel all the way to the finals, it put no incentive in the Rhodey and Sabio Vega because you already knew, like, real, it's going to be the Rhodey and Mabel guys. That's my pick. Who the fuck predicted that? It was more see-through than my fucking glass window I'm looking at right now, you know?
I mean, I do agree, but then you have to think on the flip side, like who wanted to sit through 3 Mabel matches in one night? Especially after you saw what happened in the Undertaker one, and like how slow and fucking awful he was in that.
Unfortunately, we're going to get there in a little bit. Before we do, what was up next, Matt?
A Jerry Lawler promo where he was sat in the locker room with what was clearly a painted sock to make it look dirty and like he hadn't changed them in a month. And this just hyped the Kiss My Foot match with Bret Hart later in the show.
Even as a
Oh
kid,
God.
I yeah, watch. Cause we ordered this live, my family, God help us. Even as a kid, I remember already knowing Brett was going to win because very rarely did Brett eat 2 pins on pay-per-view in a row, and he just lost to Lawler, like we cheap plug reviewed last episode on In Your House. You already knew, and it was a lame fucking storyline even for 95, you know. And we had already been this Brett and Jerry Lawler feud for almost 2 full years, yeah, and it wasn't like it was breaking any new ground. It was the same old material. Make fun of Brett's parents and his family, rinse and repeat. It wasn't captivating anymore. And I'm glad this was the blow off besides the Isaac Yankum horseshit, which we still have so much to look forward to 2 episodes from now, Matt.
Yes, we do. I mean, I just, but yeah, I mean, the Kiss My Foot stipulation just so bad. It's like you could have made it last man standing. You could have, you could have made it so, a stipulation where if Lawler lost, he couldn't challenge Bret Hart ever again, just to hammer home the fact that, do you know what, this is where we're going to end it, which is why he had to bring Isaac Yankem in. You could have done so much more with this feud if you had to book it. If Vince had such a hard on for this feud that he had to have it 2 years on from when it originally began, then a better stipulation that Bret Hart could have made the best of should have been found.
For sure. And Lawler's usually one of the better promos in the history of wrestling, but in this, it was very Sesame Street, Blues Clues, very hokey. The reactions when smelling his own
Yeah.
foot, it was so bad. So bad. The best thing about Jerry Lawler on the show, I don't even know if you remember this, are the commercials building up to this pay-per-view where he was literally sitting in like a king's court with a bunch of like knights and stuff. Do you remember that commercial?
My God, I don't think I do. No.
It's tremendous. I'm gonna throw up a clip right now.
We can appreciate great art.
Thank you very much.
Vintage wine, right touch, and of course, gourmet cuisine. Dig in, boys. Yes, it's good to be the king.
I'm the real king around here. You are nothing but a cheap impersonator.
How dare you?
There's room for only one King of the Ring of the World Wrestling Federation. Witness the coronation live on pay-per-view.
Yeah,
just a tiny bit, yeah.
a tiny bit. Missed my mark. Where we go next, Matt?
We were going to the next quarter-final match in the King of the Ring tournament, the Roadie versus Sparky Plug. And I just want to say, Travis, it's like the whole tournament was trash. It had its moments here and there, you know, Sean and Karma, etc. This match, not bad at all by,
No.
you know, by the standards of what we'd see. But the best part of this entire 95 tournament, pay-per-view portion at least, was when they showed us how they qualify. How bad is that?
Yeah. Didn't the roadie beat Doink?
Rhodey beat Doink and Sparky Plug beat fucking Mantar.
Man, I remember watching that Mantar match on Raw as a kid too, and that place blew the fucking lid off when he beat Mantar. That really did.
Oh God!
I think I know why. This was probably the best in-ring match, I gotta agree, in the tournament, besides maybe comments on, because these are the two guys that were the least made men, and they had a lot to prove. Whereas Sean and Taker and all those guys, they were just gonna phone it in like AT&T. This is just another fucking day for them. But these guys, literally, they hadn't really had this platform, especially the roadie, and they really had something to prove. And I think not an amazing match, but a valiant effort. I gotta give it. I'm with you. I think this is a very underrated match.
Oh yeah, and they both tried the hardest as well. You could see, like, I mean, Bob Holly and Jesse James. I think with the gimmicks they had in '95, clearly knew they weren't, they weren't going to get pushed into the main event anytime. But they tried their hardest. The match went too long. Admittedly, there were too many rest holds by the roadie, and the ending let it down badly. But they really, really put in a fucking shift, and I appreciated that.
I remember Doc Hendricks, he said it at least 2 or 3 times that this could be the dark horse match. These guys, they could go all the way in this. Here's something that I don't even know if you noticed, and I remembered it back then, and she's right there loud and loud. The one fan in the crowd who has a roadie sign and says King of the Road, and she's wearing like a Shawn Michaels hat that Barry Dudinsky was slinging, and she was just this awful groupie looking woman, but she was going nuts for the roadie. I don't know if you remember this. They panned on her for like at least, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds.
Yeah, I caught sight of her, yeah.
Good God. I wonder where she's at now. I gotta know. I really do.
Christ. I wish they'd do like on the network, the Where Are They Now things, but on like specific members of the audience who sort of became famous. You know what I mean? With each brand and stuff.
Vladimir, the super fan, and the guy that was always fist bumping Sid, all that shit. This would actually start a little bit of a winning streak for the roadie. We'll get there next month, but the next month he would beat the 1-2-3 Kid clean with like a pile driver off the top rope. So it was a new generation. They're trying to make stars, and it was refreshing to see him take a guy who you thought was just going to be a manager and try to do something with him. And who would have ever guessed the amount of success that the roadie would have 3 years from now? One of the top acts in the company, flat out, as far as popularity.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he was as green as runny dog shit here, but I think he learnt the craft quickly, and he learnt the craft well, and he developed that roadie character into the road dog. And we'd see later on in this show, he was already a hell of a talker. So
yeah, he was very good.
I think one of the most maybe.
Good.
Sorry, I was just going to say maybe one of the most improved wrestlers of the mid-90s.
I can't argue that at all. I mean, you could see sign even in these matches, he had tons of charisma, like getting crowd heat and stuff. He was really good at like being a little chicken shit, you know.
Oh, absolutely. The only thing I hated, the ending, Travis. The fuck was this?
Yeah, yeah.
Who, who has ever, who has ever lost a match by by getting a boot in the face when they come off the top rope? I don't ever recall, even on Superstars and Wrestling Challenge, I don't ever recall a
And
jobber coming
I
off the
get
top rope, getting
I
a
get
boot
it
in
too
the
that
face, and getting.
Brody didn't have a finisher at the time, and maybe he was like trying to figure that out and go the well. But this, I mean, I could understand if that's like Diesel or Sid getting the win with it. You know, their big boot.
But the roadie, it's like, roll him up, have Jeff Jarrett fucking distract him, and put Schoolboy from behind, but not this. And makes it worse. Bob Holly got his shoulder up, and the referee still awarded this to Jesse James.
The fix is in.
Oh God.
And that was
God.
that. Brody advances. Something I don't think anyone at the time thought they would say. But and we talked about the qualifying matches earlier. We totally glossed over the fact that Lex Luger and Yokozuna was on free for TV qualifying match. Wow.
A WWF Championship main event 2 years ago was a meaningless qualifying match 2 years later.
Unreal. God, Lex was just in such bad graces by this point. Not even featured. Not even a mention of Lex on this.
No, the only thing we saw of Lex was him getting beaten by Yokozuna.
Yep. Dare I ask, where we go next?
We go to Todd Pettengill and Shawn Michaels backstage. We see Shawn Michaels qualifying over King Kong Bundy. Dear God. Vince loved his big, fat, sweaty men in '95, didn't he? Like, he couldn't get enough. I say Vince, it's probably Pat Patterson, let's be honest, who hired these.
Yeah.
But they loved their big, fat, sweaty men. Shawn says that being big doesn't make you good. I feel like already he was really sort of settling into the face role.
For sure. He had I've seen a bunch of podcasts and interviews where like Shawn had kind of been petitioning to be turned for a while because I mean, like we talked about last episode, you couldn't deny it. You could feel the momentum shifting even when he was a heel at Mania 11. The fans wanted then some babyface Shawn. What was there to hate? And he was frustrated. And on his match with Kama on this, you could tell. You always knew at this time the infamous this era of Shawn being a dick, right? His match with Vader and all that shit. You could always read it on Shawn's face when he either wasn't going over, didn't like the booking or any of that. And he just repeatedly taunted Vince at ringside during this, literally.
Yeah, it was. And I don't know, it's like, I'll never get it, that side of Shawn. It's like, he was clearly going to the top. Vince had massive plans for him. He knew where he was taking him over the next, year and a bit. I just don't understand why, a 1995 Shawn Michaels who just turned babyface, fans still weren't quite used to him in that role yet, even though they were cheering for him. Just do the job, Forget the booking. It's not important. You'd go on to bigger and better things than this King of the Ring tournament would take the winner anyway. Just take the time limit draw and move on. Stop being such a fucking juvenile dick about it.
Yep. It was what'd you think of the actual in-ring quality of the match?
I didn't mind it, and I think that's probably the only time you'll hear me say that about a Charles Wright match. But I mean, this went the whole 15 minutes, and I thought Shawn carried him well, and I thought what Karma did, it wasn't boring. I'd expect it to be boring as he was still sort of transitioning from the Papa Shango to the Karma character. It was fine.
I think it definitely made him look like a threat, like a badass. Certain spots in this match,
Yeah.
like Shawn would try to get the comeback and just shut down immediately because Kama was, just too tough to overcome in certain parts. I thought that was well handled. Obviously, not one of Shawn's better matches, but obviously maybe Charles Wright's best match he ever had, like you said.
Oh yeah, and it made him look like a complete monster for the Undertaker. coming up at SummerSlam and over the next few months to build that.
Did you notice speaking of pimps, did you notice the one guy on the hard cam, like the second row, who was literally dressed in like a pimp suit, all white, who was like the biggest Shawn fan for this match?
No.
Oh my God. I don't even, was it cosplay? Was it really a fucking pimp?
Fuck knows, but somebody spent a lot more time watching the audience than they did the show.
Well, I mean, if there's ever hard to zone out on and take it all in your surroundings, it's this one. I mean, my God. But no, they went the full 15 minutes, and that obviously gave the winner of the Taker and Mabel match a bye. Very frustrated crowd after this. Within the last minute of this match, the crowd was really at a fever pitch. You know what I mean? It kind of reminded me, not on that level, but of Brett and Shawn in the Iron Man match, the final minute. It had that kind of feel to it. Obviously, a wet fart by the end of it.
I mean, yeah. The last minute of this was done well. It was like they kept the countdown on the screen to add the drama, and I think both Shawn and Karma, they picked up the pace, they picked up the tension, and it was timed just right. I mean, over the years, Travis, we've seen some matches with a time limit, like not timed well at all. But this was timed perfectly, I think. Like Shawn, you believe Shawn would have won had he had another second and a half.
I think it was right towards the end. He hit the super kick, right? He went for the pin,
Yeah.
and then just not enough time. Yeah. They love that spot with Shawn, by the way, hitting that super kick right at the fucking end, not getting the pin. I really don't.
And I was just so that protected Shawn as well. New baby face. People expect. I think the expectation was that he would obviously beat Karma, but the end protected him. The time limit draw protected him, and it was clear that he was going to be Vince's golden boy going forward.
They booked themselves into a corner with this because on one end you got a brand new babyface who essentially you're going to catapult to the top star in the company a year from now. On the other end, you're building up a guy to go in with your top babyfaces at SummerSlam and Kama. I would have flipped it. Talk about fantasy booking. It should have been Shawn and the Roadie, Kama and Bob Holly. There you go.
Yes, see that would have been much better. And then Shawn could have. Shawn would have had to advance. You couldn't have him losing to Roadie, not even by distraction.
Yeah. No way, you couldn't have that at all. And then, it could still be Shawn and Kama in the semifinals, but you want to make this vicious. He melted down the fucking urn, for Christ's sake. So obviously he's a vicious heel. Make him do something vicious like that and get himself disqualified. And then that way Shawn advances. That's how I would have done it. Simple.
I mean, you could then. I mean, if you didn't want a disqualification, obviously you wanted Shawn to stay strong and win by a pinfall, then maybe a sort of Undertaker distraction. The lights go out, the gong goes, and then Karma turns around, eats Sweet Chin Music, and it's done. But yeah, something along those lines.
Hell, you could even have done this because 1 month later, In Your House 2 with Shawn and Jeff Jarrett in a match I fucking love and actually can't wait to review it next month. You could have had the Roadie salty from losing to Shawn in the first round come out and attack Shawn unintentionally, costing Kama the match, and that's how Shawn advanced. And then you're advancing that Jeff Jarrett and Shawn storyline. God forbid.
There you go. So we've just come up with 3 finishes on the spot that would have made this tournament infinitely better than it was.
I should go upstairs and ask my 12-year-old daughter how to book this. She could have done better, to be honest.
Oh, dear.
That was that. Shawn is out, and man, it was a somber crowd after, because there's literally like one last hope after this, the dead man,
Yeah. Especially when they hammered it home that the winner of Undertaker and Mabel would advance to the final.
Yeah.
And you could tell everybody in the crowd was going, God, please not Mabel.
Was there another segment in between this, or did we go right to Taker and Mabel?
No, we saw how Taker and Mabel qualified against Adam Bomb. Obviously, we reviewed that last month in your house, and Taker qualified against Jeff Jarrett. I mean, just pin the Intercontinental Champion on TV. Who cares? And then we went to the Bob Backlund campaign video.
The best goddamn part of this entire show was a Bob Backlund vignette. Are you with me?
Yes, I am with you. He forgot his lines now and again, which made it even better. And you could see he was like his eyes were a deer caught in the headlights, but this this was very, very good.
And if you couldn't tell this was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, boy, did this vignette drive home the fact. And I thought it was nicely done. It was him going around like all the sites in PA, the Liberty Bell, all that stuff, talking about the Philadelphia cheesesteak, holding up essentially the most disgusting looking cheesesteak. It looks so unappealing. And then we're going to put a big carrot right in the middle. Vitamin C. I still pop for that line. It's so good.
Oh,
It
I
was
mean,
really weird though, because essentially Bob was done as in ring. I think Mania
Yeah.
11 was his swan song. So this was essentially this Bob Backlund for president thing was filler. Nothing more than goddamn complete filler. What was it building up to? He wouldn't do anything until like 2 years later managing the Sultan. That's it.
Yeah, but somehow he managed to carry it off. And, you know, like you said, there was no in-ring to it, but it was just... He even had some in-ring interviews, I believe, as Mr. Bob Backlund, when he was running for president, etc. And
Yeah.
I mean, Bob was never the best talker, you know, never. But there was a charm about this, and a charm about him when he sort of descended from the WWF champion into the comedy again. And it was a light comic relief of fuck, we needed it on this show.
Dare I say that because he wasn't the best on the mic is what kind of makes this age even better and made it go off even better without a hitch. You know what I mean? Like if there would have been a guy who's a tremendous promo, this could have been corny as shit. This could have gone one of two ways, but I think because Bob was so fish out of water and all that stuff, it just worked. It's so bad it's good.
Yeah, and I love that his promo style is basically shout at the camera until you get your point across.
I think you say what you want. When he flipped that switch, when he snapped and all that stuff, my God, he really did come off a little bit psychotic. I mean, as a kid, I remember when he first snapped on Brett and turned heel, it was kind of scary.
Yeah, because you were used to seeing him as this wholesome, all-American baby face. You know, the red tights, the bushy hair, the shaking hands, and then when he finally snapped, it was like, wow. You know, I am interested in it, even though it led to SummerSlam '94 and that fucking submission match, not submission, that match, and then the submission match at WrestleMania. You know, the matches weren't great, but what he did with the character was.
If you guys want to find a great Bret Hart Bob Backlund match, go to like their first one in '93. That was actually a really good one, but it just went downhill from there with those two.
Yeah, it did. Backlund, I don't know whether it was Backlund was too old or he couldn't work Bret's style, but I never felt them two sort of ever gelled properly.
Now, you are, without a doubt, the biggest Undertaker fan I've ever met. You wrote a goddamn book on the man, for Christ's sakes. In the book, dare I ask your thoughts? Undertaker, Mabel, first round action.
Well, I'm not going to tell you the thoughts from the book because people can then buy it and read them because this is covered in the book extensively. But this was absolutely hideous in every way, shape, and form. And you knew it was going to be bad. I think it was the first 2 minutes in when Mabel tried I think it was a variation of a sidewalk slam.
Ugh.
And both men just flopped to the mat. It looked, oh my God. And then that set the tone for the bout, which went drastically downhill from here.
As big as Mabel was, it's like the man had no strength sometimes. I feel like he struggled picking up Adam Bomb on our last review, and in this, it's like, my God, he's literally just a big fat guy. And that doesn't equate to strength all the time.
And even some of his punches had nothing behind them.
No.
There was a spot in this, they repeated from In Your House with the referee. This time the Undertaker got his foot caught in the middle rope, and he was dangling on the outside. And now Mabel got out the ring, and you just expect a big guy like that to really lay in the kicks. And it was almost like Mabel was just nudging him with his knee.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
And the Undertaker had to sell that as his ribs had been battered.
The fact, and I'm glad you brought that up, the fact that we just saw that's essentially a ref bump we saw last month. This made Taker look so stupid and like such an idiot.
It did. It did. But can I just say, I applaud him for allowing Mabel what was he, 500, 600 pounds, something like that, to completely sit on his back during that camel clutch.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think, Taker. I think Taker was definitely regretting it about like 2 months later when he broke his ocular cavities on his face or whatever. But yeah, I mean, he was very giving. My God. Now here's a question I got to ask you. Who the fuck ever told Mabel it was a good idea to throw a spin kick in your repertoire? It always looked like shit. He never hit guys with it. It didn't make sense for him to do that move. Why? That is, I don't get it. I never did and I never will.
No, I mean, as far as memory serves, he hit with the boot and not the leg. Now, if he'd have hit the move full force, like with his thigh, then I could understand it, because like that would knock a normal man out, and it would be a somewhat devastating finisher to get hit with that fucking massive tree trunk sized leg.
Yeah.
But it was almost like he tapped him, he tapped them with the sole of his boot, and it was like, where's the power? There's no power behind anything he did.
No.
Just, oh.
Maybe his leg drop and like his belly to belly, but that was it. You know what I mean? And that's just because of gravity itself and the size of him. It's not because of any intensity he showed. It's
Exactly. He jumps in the air, and gravity is going to bring him down pretty hard. It's got nothing to do with the intensity that he puts into that. He just has to do a simple little jump, and gravity does the rest.
It's really weird looking back at Mabel's career. He worked very odd for me. It's like the moves like that spin kick we talked about, the moves that essentially should be high impact maneuvers. He kind of held back and it looked awful, but simple maneuvers like, sitting on Diesel's back and stuff, he was hurting guys left and right. It was the complete opposite. Where did he go to wrestling school?
He was the Nia Jax of the 90s.
And that is completely accurate. It really is. And nobody can debate that. Truly.
No.
Business.
He literally broke a man's face with a simple leg drop. It's like, how do you even do that?
Credit to WWE at the time when he did that essentially, the Diesel thing. I've seen the Kevin Nash shoots that fucking pissed Kevin Nash off because he didn't know Mabel was going to do that, and it really did hurt his back. But essentially, credit to WWE when he did break Undertaker's face. That was the last straw, and they just booked him in the shitter after that. His push was gone. I can't say the same for the current day with Nia Jax. It's like every time this woman hurts somebody, she gets promoted up the card.
You're right, though. It's like, break an arm, here's a championship shot.
And I got to do it. I got to derail for a second. I saw Mick Foley put a tweet out this week defending Nia Jax and going to that tried and true, tired, lame duck bullshit about Rollins and the buckle bomb. Mick Foley is my favorite all-time professional wrestler. But Mick, you're totally misconstruing why the fans are frustrated and give this woman shit. It's not because she's hurting people. That's part of it. It's not because it's even consistent. It's how she handles it with her big fucking ugly mouth on social media. That's why we loathe the woman. It's her arrogance. It's her asinine tweets, literally verbatim a few days ago saying, it's just a small percentage of the IWC who gives me shit. Really? Because I didn't know a small percentage meant all of fucking Twitter. Oh, ran over.
Oh, God. Do you feel better now?
A little bit. But not too much because we're only halfway through the show.
We are only halfway through the show. And this match, Mabel Undertaker, ended with a ref bump, Karma breaking up the pin off the choke slam, and then Mabel just a simple leg drop for the win. Just awful. And Undertaker came out of this looking really, really bad.
It's amazing how they protected Yokozuna, but they didn't protect Taker eating the pin.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Vince had such confidence in Taker that he knew no loss could hurt him, properly. But I mean, the loss didn't hurt him. The fucking match crippled him.
Yeah. This has to be top 3 worst Undertaker matches I've ever seen. It's up there with Great Khali and probably a Big Show match for me, honestly.
Oh yeah, and what did this go? 8-9 minutes, something like that.
way too fucking long.
This should have been 3 minutes. Like you knew Mabel was limited. You know, you'd seen him against Adam Bomb. He'd had, you know, several singles matches on Superstars and Challenge, etc. Why book him in matches this long? You know, and you know, I love the Undertaker, but Undertaker couldn't carry Mabel through this match in '95, especially when all Taker had before this was Bundy and Yokozuna and Giant Gonzalez and fucking giant after giant after giant who didn't really add anything to the Undertaker's repertoire.
No, I'm right with you. Is 1995 flat out the worst year for the quality of Undertaker's opponents?
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, '93 with Giant Gonzalez comes close, but you know, you look at '95, King Kong Bundy, terrible. Mabel, terrible. Karma, terrible. And then, you know, he sort of almost descend into nothingness at the end of '95 when you get to Survivor Series. Just hideous until you get to Diesel, you know, at the very end of '95, beginning of '96.
It's kind of like 93 was like one, you know, it was like a big cannon blast of just shitty feuds for Taker. But 95 was like a machine gun, like da 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 da, like shitty match, shitty match, shitty match, like
Yeah,
nonstop Taker, you know. So bad, dude.
pretty much. Pretty much.
Well, now that the crowd is essentially like completely taken out of this show, really nothing to look forward to except maybe Brett, because Diesel wasn't over the way they wanted him to be. Where did that take us next?
Well, we got a little video package for the Hall of Fame from the night before. This went on and on and on, longer than I thought it would. And this wasn't just a highlight package. This felt like half a ceremony. You know, we saw people like Ivan Putski, Ernie Ladd, Fabulous Moolah touting for business, but this was just awful.
Was Ivan Putski drunk at his own Hall of Fame ceremony singing and being weird?
I think he was, yeah.
Good God. Something really unique, actually. It was kind of cool to see. I know a lot of allegations of Fabulous Moolah, but it was cool to see that kind of passing the torch with Alondra Blaze and Moolah at the time.
Yeah. I mean, could you call it passing the torch? Because Moolah would come back in the late '90s and just be like my division.
Well, I'm pretending that didn't exist yet. This is all we know. So at the time, it kind of felt like, you know, I mean, the woman, Alondra Blaze, would be gone in 4 months, you know,
Yeah.
but still. Real quick before we move on in the show, the next pay-per-view we got on tap is In Your House 2, Diesel and Sid, the Lumberjack match. I would have totally given Mabel that spot at the B show In Your House and then build to a Lumberjack or a cage match with Sid and Diesel at SummerSlam, your second biggest show of the year. No reason that shouldn't have been flipped. It makes no goddamn, because Sid wasn't even on SummerSlam 95.
No, he wasn't. And I think Diesel and Sid could have worked a good cage match better than they worked a standard match or a lumberjack match.
It's not a high bar, but yeah, I agree.
Sad, isn't it, that we've done this for 3 years, and this is possibly the lowest we've ever been, and the lowest our expectations have ever been.
And we do it for you guys. And if you go out of your way to watch this show after listening to this, that's on you. We tried to warn you. This is our PSA.
This is the disclaimer. We take no credit. We take no blame for what you do after you listen to these reviews.
Like Matt and I could probably literally text or call each other any time of the day and just start talking wrestling, no matter how bad life's going for us. That's just how much we love professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But this is flat out the doldrums. I mean, people say that a lot about 95, but there's a reason people say that. It's just for me, the ultimate hokiness, the most hokey the company ever was. The quality then in ring is probably the worst it ever was. Just the characters were so half-assed and just, you know, people talk about Vince being out of touch now. Holy shit. This was at the same time in the media in the world where like grunge and Nirvana were popular, you know, and just the world was getting darker and entertainment in general was getting darker. Television was getting away with more risque stuff. And it's like Vince, as far as his creative, never wanted to move on past like an '89 mentality. And he obviously paid for it.
Oh yeah, he nearly paid for it with his company. But I mean, thank God, like Austin came along, and I don't want to say thank God for the monstrous screw job because it obviously messed Bret Hart's life up for years afterwards. But
Right.
God knows where WWF would have been, or even if WWF/WWE would have been today had it not been for all those things sort of turning Vince McMahon round on his booking and his creative.
For sure. But I think I can say in total confidence that thank God for the curtain call. Thank God all those four pricks went into business for themselves, or we would have never got Austin in 96 King of the Ring, you know.
Yeah, that is true.
Is it time for second round action, Matt?
It is. And I think the only semi-final trap.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The only semi-final match. He's tuned out, or he's gone already. The only semi-final match on this show, Savio Vega versus the Roadie. And like you said earlier, there was only one winner.
Way that they were, especially at this time, they're going to do two heels in the main event. You might have got two baby faces because you saw that a couple times on pay-per-view with like Brett and Davey and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, finally, we got some long-term storytelling, God forbid, besides a comma run-in. This is, playing off of the match last month, the handicap match against Razor and, Double J and the Roadie. Does this hold up to the quality of Sparkplug Holly and the Roadie? And I can't believe I just said that, but does it?
It doesn't. But after what we just saw with Mabel and The Undertaker, this is Brett versus Owen at Mania. You know?
Yeah.
If this had been the first match on the card, people would have just gone, oh, God. But because this came after what it came after, people were like, oh, my God, this is really good.
Yeah, it was like Savage and Steamboat all over again compared to what we just saw.
Yeah.
Anything stand out to you in this match?
I mean, the only thing that really stood out for me here was this the first time. I think they might have done it on a Superstars or two before, but was this the first real time that they referred to the Roadie as Road Dog?
I believe so. And I think
Jeff
that
Jarrett
only
just went into it, didn't he? He just went
I
like
think
Road Dog this.
that was only birthed like that from Jeff Jarrett, like just in a promo one day, and it stuck.
And that's it. That's literally all that stuck out to me. Apart from the ending. What was the ending?
It was spin kick finish.
Oh yeah, that was it.
The deadliest spit kick of all time is Savio Vega's, apparently.
And the best part of this match for me was the post-match interview. We can criticize Doc Hendricks all we want, but I thought this was very, very good indeed, where he got up to supposedly translate, I think it was Carlos Cabrera's interview in Spanish/Portuguese with Savio Vega. And Savio Vega's obviously hyping himself up in a different language. And Doc Hendricks is sitting there translating it, going, I think I've been lucky. I don't think I've got a chance against Mabel. I'm definitely going to lose.
Dare I say this is like the first glimpse of Michael P.S. Hayes we got ever, as opposed to Doc Hendricks in this role. Like, that's something I feel like the Freebird would have done.
Yeah, agreed. And I loved like Razor Ramon stood behind him, just like, yeah, this is some funny shit.
Yeah, he didn't give a shit. Dare I say, second part of the show was this little thing with Doc Hendricks right here.
Yeah, I mean, next though, Travis. Oh dear.
Here's a time to take off some socks and kiss some feet, man.
It was. We got a Bret Hart promo first on Jerry Lawler, on how he's been training hard and in preparation for interference. He couldn't have sounded more like Hulk Hogan if he tried. I thought Bret Hart was about to break into the I've said my prayers and took my vitamins.
Yeah, for a guy who's 50 pounds less than me and like 2 inches shorter.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's basic interview. Says Lawler will kiss his feet, and then we get into the match. Oh.
Something I want to talk about before the match, and I wish it's something they'd bring back in wrestling, is doing a little impromptu like promo on the way to the ring during an entrance that they did with Lawler here. Stephanie Wyan, your favorite, is out there in a just selling the shit out of Lawler's feet. Like Vince and Doc on commentary saying that you could smell it at ringside through the boot. And the most over character on this show was Lawler's left fucking foot. I feel like nothing was built up more than this man's foot on this entire show.
No. This got more. His foot got more build than the actual main event of this pay-per-view. Just think about that for a minute. That is your 1995 WWF. A man's supposedly rancid, smelly foot gets more hype and build than the main event featuring your WWF champion.
I will say, and I'm dead serious, the pre-match graphic where they showed like Lawler and Brett and a giant foot in between them was amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
It's like a big fake Nickelodeon foot or something. It was great, you know.
Oh dear.
In-ring quality-wise, does this hold up to what we reviewed last month, or do you think it's one of Lawler's best matches? Definitely not one of Brett's. What did you think of the in-ring quality of this?
I thought it was one of Lawler's best WWF matches. He hadn't had very high standards in the year or two before this. He phoned it in badly, you know. And let's be honest, there's not much you can do in the way of 5-star match quality when you've got Doink and them as as your main rivals. But I thought Jerry Lawler picked up the game here. It wasn't great by any means. They tried to add drama to it by giving Bret Hart an elbow injury against Henry Godwin on Action Zone. They mentioned that and they played up to that. The Hakushi run-in was, predictable after In Your House. But this, I'm thankful for this match, for it being the last time these two ever wrestled. Let's put it that way.
We talked about kind of Hakushi coming off his damaged goods the month before this and the loss to Brett. And,
yeah,
I think this sealed the deal. I mean, he just looked like a bumbling fucking idiot in this, just missing everything and essentially costing Lawler the match. Like their plan backfired. I see what they were going for, but I mean, we made the comparison of this could have been the company's Great Muta, and this is what you're doing.
I mean, I think they definitely sacrificed Hakushi's image to I can't even believe I'm saying this. They sacrificed Hakushi's image to protect Jerry Lawler, but to protect him for what? It's like, what was his next major feud after this?
Hakushi?
I mean, would you call that a major feud?
Are you talking about what was Hakushi's next feud or Lawler's next feud after this?
Oh no, Lawler's next massive feud after this.
I think the Warrior a year later, around King of the Ring 96.
Jesus. So they protected Lawler to basically keep him waiting a year for his next big feud.
And that match might have went 4 minutes at that King of the Ring with those two. We'll get there someday, unfortunately. No, but really, this was the only thing relevant he did was just be like a cheerleader or quote manager for Isaac Yankem DDS after this hired dentist to take out Brett.
Yeah. I mean, I will get onto SummerSlam obviously in about 2 weeks' time, but even that match was head and tails above anything Brett and Lawler did in the ring together.
I wonder what that guy's doing now. Whatever happened to him, that Isaac Yankem guy?
Probably jobbing on the Indies somewhere.
Probably amounted to nothing. Probably just gave up the business. This match is all right. By this point in the show, I wanted to hang myself, so I didn't. The bar was so fucking low. Again, it was almost impossible to be disappointed. The main event and the next match would prove me wrong, but this, I mean, it's been on a couple Brett DVDs. It was on the Lawler DVD. I guess Vince, I feel like Vince is still super proud of this match to this day, that he booked this amazing first ever Kiss My Foot match. I guess the best part was the end where, Brett obviously won after the shenanigans and Hakushi missing and all that stuff. He took his boot off, but Lawler kissed Brett's foot. I remember the time, by the way, when Brett took his boot off, it kind of blew. It was cool to see like what guys were wearing under their gear and, it's just a sock. You know what I mean? It kind of
Yeah.
But it was cool to see like Brett's tights like hooked underneath his foot, and that's how wrestling tights worked. I do remember that vividly. It's kind of like, oh, that's cool. But I guess the best part was Brett making Lawler kiss his own foot. I mean, the heel got his comeuppance. That makes sense. But
It did. And can I just say, Travis, there was a point in this match where they went to the outside, and the camera sort of panned around the audience, and I swore for about 10 seconds that I saw you, like a teenage you, in the audience with a white shirt and your long hair. And now I realise it wasn't you. But fuck me, this guy was your doppelganger. Because I looked at him, he was like giving it large to the camera, and I thought, my God, it's Travis. Like, if you go back and watch it, honestly, like, spitting image.
you just missed it because I attended King of the Ring '94 from Baltimore when I was 10, but I did not make this show.
Damn. Like,
Yep.
it was only like 10 seconds later when they were back in the ring. I thought, it's 95. He wouldn't have been that old yet.
God, I got to see this guy now. I didn't even notice that.
Oh, I can't believe you missed it. But yeah, the end of this match was, Jerry Lawler's comeuppance. Brett wins the day, and on they go. Thank God, on they go, because this 2-year series with Jerry Lawler just wasn't Brett's finest moment in the ring.
Everything would be shaken up around early August when kayfabe wise Jack Tunney was out and Gorilla Monsoon was in, and they started doing like Razor and Shawn, two baby faces. They'd eventually catapult Brett back into the title picture by the end of the year. It's kind of like Vince knew that the ratings were in the shit, and he knew that this was just garbage he was putting out, and they were going to do anything they could to mix it up. And thank God they did, because '96 wasn't the greatest year, but it was a whole lot better than '95.
Yeah, completely. I mean, '96 was sort of the year of, it was a rebuild, and they were working towards something bigger with Austin at King of the Ring, and God knows what they were thinking of doing with the Warrior. Just let's put that to the side. And of course, '96 gave us fake Razor and fake Diesel and all this bullshit. But there was some gems in '96 that would save the company in '97 and '98.
Namely Ahmed Johnson. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, please, everybody listen to this. Go and subscribe to his Ahmed Johnson homage Twitter account.
At Ahmed's Wheelhouse on Twitter. Go follow it. To hell with Mongo McMichael. I can't believe the Mongo account has 17,000 subscribers. Oh my God.
But then you look at the stuff Mongo did in the ring, and it's like, it literally brightens up your day just to see him just barging into wrestlers and just falling about.
So like every post I make under the Ahmed account, I kind of make a little cheap shot at Mongo, and some person I don't know like quote tweeted my Ahmed account and said the best feud going in wrestling today is the Mongo account versus the Ahmed account.
That's amazing.
He's not wrong.
Oh dear.
My God, it's come to this. Is it time for the finals of the King of the Ring 1995, Matt?
Oh, almost. We got a Special Olympics video package, and then we got a video package of Brett and Owen winning the past 2 years, and then it was time for the final. Mabel, Savio Vega. I think this is the icing on the cake, wasn't it?
We can do this. I believe in us. Let's do it. Let's buckle down and review the hardest match we've ever had to review. Savio Vega, King Mabel, final. Well, not King yet, but he would be for the finals of the King of the Ring '95 tournament. Dog shit match. Pretty much a one-sided squash finish. I get it. They're going with the exhaustion, the fatigue with Savio Vega. Man, for the first time, as much as I talk, I got nothing. I have nothing other than horrible booking decision. One of the worst in the company's history.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. But Savio Vega was never gonna win this, and they had bigger plans for Shawn and Taker, and it is what it is, Travis. I think 25 years later, I think we're grown up enough now to look back on this and go, it was a terrible, terrible decision, but it is what it was.
This is that part I mentioned at the top of the show where the ECW chants were audible. This match right here, can't blame them. Let's just Mabel got the
Was
win. I don't want to describe anything really in the match unless you do.
I mean, no, I don't. This was as hideous as you can possibly imagine, but it continued a trend of heels winning the King of the Ring, and I don't think a babyface actually. I mean, was Billy Gunn a babyface in '99 when he won it?
Shamrock won it in '98. That was the first the babyface won it in a couple years.
Since Brett, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which I mean, to
Right.
be honest, it's kind of tailor made for a heel to win. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like a babyface calling himself a king kind of makes the guy come off as a dick. You know, especially wearing that crown. It's not like Brett wore the crown ever. You know, he was just like, oh, it's another notch under my belt. Now, if Brett would have started wearing the crown and stuff, like, oh, he's kind of a dick like Lawler. He really thinks he's a king. Like, who the fuck is this guy? You know?
I think Brett was the only babyface to really carry it off, wasn't he? Because he never really played on it. It's like when they did it, King Duggan, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
Just awful.
That was more of that was different, kind of a different time too, and that was kind of the irony of it. That Duggan was like the last guy you'd expect to be royalty. So like when he wore it was kind of like, yeah, take that Harley Race. He's our common working man kind of thing. But Brett didn't need that moniker at all. It was I think Brett winning was a case of the tournament needed Brett more than Brett needed the fucking tournament because they just brought it back.
Yes, yeah, completely agree. And you know, we forgot to mention the fact that you know, as Brett versus Lawler was the whole feud, it sort of came full circle. It began at King of the Ring and it ended at King of the Ring.
Yeah, sure did. Mabel got the win here, but we weren't done. One of the
Oh
cringiest.
no!
Yo, it's time. Oh, it's time. You know what time it is. One of the cringiest, sweatiest, fucking god awful things, promos I've ever witnessed. The coronation ceremony from the melodious vocal cords of the exalted, intelligent Mo. Fucking Mo. And this seemed like this went on for 45 minutes, man.
It, it was excruciating. It's like he took so long to say every word, and I don't know whether he was trying to make it like regal or whether he was trying to make it interesting, but he almost stopped after every fucking word. It just went on and on and on.
I don't know who was sweatier, Mabel, who just performed, or Mo. Mo was sweating bullets.
He was. Mo hadn't done anything. He was just in that that black high neck suit, and he was crowd were pelting him with stuff. Did you see behind Mabel's like the crowd was throwing things? And I don't know whether it was nerves with Mo, but definitely should never have been allowed to talk again.
For one split second, because I forgot this promo existed, when he started it off with the hear ye, I thought it was going to be this ironic, kind of decent promo. Boy, was I wrong. Nope.
Yeah.
And you're right. The crowd was pelting shit at him. It's unbelievable they had a coronation like this in the most cutthroat city in America. You could possibly have the ugliest sports fans there are. Rabid Philadelphia fans weren't having it. Good God Almighty! And here we have it, King Mabel. I feel so bad for the business right now.
I mean,
95.
honestly, not as bad as I felt for the backs and the shoulders of them poor fuckers that had to carry him to the ring every night.
I hope that they got slipped more than like a 20 for that. I would hope all those guys at least got slipped like $100 for carrying fucking Mabel out there, you know.
It would not just slip the hernia, yeah.
At least enough to cover the chiropractor bill or something.
Oh God, are we nearly done with this show, Travis?
We have the most lackluster, motherfucking shittiest main event you could possibly imagine. What is this show capped off with, Matt?
Oh dear. Well, first we were with Stephanie Wyant with the $1 Million Corporation, and this God, this interview after the King of the Ring final was the very first time they ever meant the main event, like the story or what the main event was going to be. We got no hype for this during the previous 2.5 hours.
I think it's because even then Vince knew he had no faith in this main event, you know?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. This was Ted DiBiase laughing at the camera and Sid doing his best. And God bless Sid for trying. Like, he did a fantastic promo.
2 for
And then
2. Because the
two
Your
for
House,
two.
same thing.
Yeah, and then it just got all torn apart when they let Tatanka have the microphone.
This may be one of the most controversial things I will ever say on this show. Come at me in the comments by all means on Twitter. Matt, you can come at me. I would have rather had this be a transitional title match. At least have some fucking title match on this pay-per-view, Diesel defending against Tatanka, than this tag team match of Bam Bam and Diesel versus Tatanka and Sid. I would have rather had that than this.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have rather they scrapped it all together, saved us 30 minutes, and I don't know, did something else elsewhere, saved it till In Your House with, Sid and Diesel, because after, the slog of the King of the Ring tournament, after 2 Mabel matches, 4 Savio Vega matches, after a Sean and Karma time limit draw and a Yokozuna count out, like, no one needed to see this.
How
Like,
sick,
not one
how sick were you of hearing
person.
Savio's music by the end of the show?
So fucking sick of it. Especially because they put the qualifying match on with IRS at the beginning of this show as a special little extra. So,
Like just now thinking about when I watched this the other day, his theme is like still embedded in my head note by note. Like I have it down how it goes right now.
you've got to play it now on the guitar.
Ugh. Well, now I have to because you just put me on blast on there. So I guess I'm learning that theme this week. What can you say about this match? I mean, Bam Bam Bigelow, I feel like his best days were behind him in ring wise.
Yeah.
He wasn't spring chicken anymore. Obviously, he'd had some injuries and stuff like that. Really, okay, why not? Because we said it earlier, he was only out for 2 seconds in a fucking tuxedo. Why not just Owen and Diesel for the title? Why not? Who
Because
cares?
Vince didn't want to put Owen in that spot again. It's like, I think as far as Vince was concerned, Owen had had his time like the year before, and that was it now for Owen, really.
As great as his feud was with Brett, it's one of my all-time favorite feuds. I still believe to this day that Vince only put Owen in those things because Brett bitched so much about his brother's booking just to do Brett a favor so as he didn't piss off his top star and have him leave.
Yeah, I can totally say that.
I just cannot fathom having a talent. I know it's a broken record. Having a talent like Owen Hart and just what this is what they did with him. And we talk about guys being misused today, like the joke that they've made Samoa Joe and all that, but Owen Hart had everything and then some. It's unfucking real. And when people say Vince is a genius all the time because of the attitude and shit like that, I throw this in their face and say, counterpoint, motherfucker. Check out this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
This was obviously before he had Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara and all those fucking guys in his ear and giving him good shit. This was Vince and Pat and Bruce. Flat out, those 3 guys. This was their baby. This was the best they could conjure up for fans paying $30 to $40 in 1990 motherfucking 5.
Oh dear. And it was shit. This was shit from beginning to end.
Thank God we're at the end, though. Your final result, Diesel and Bam are winning.
Yep. Sid walks out onto Tonka, and that's it. God, Travis, I feel like it's taken us longer to review this than actually watch it.
It's crazy too that he walked out into Tonka, but that storyline was never addressed again. Like by the next, like all was fine with those two. Like no biggie. I get it.
Yeah. Like Sid, I don't think Sid faced any repercussion. He was kept in the $1 Million Corporation and then teamed with, 1-2-3 Kid at the end of '95.
Yep. I don't even have to ask, but first of all, thank motherfucking God this is over. We're done. What do you grade King of the Ring 95.
I think I'm going to be generous and give it an F-. That's being generous.
I don't even have to ask why. We already know why. I'm going to go and I'm going to break ground. I'm going to do something never done. I'm going to give it a new grade. I'm going to grade this 8. Not a Nintendo DS, a DS for dog shit. Just from the pacing of the in-ring matches for a 30. This wasn't an in-your-house $20 B show. This was one of their big ones. The quality that was put, the guys phoning it in because they already knew they were getting schmoz finishes. That's on the talent too. You still go out and give the fans their fucking money's worth. The asinine characters, promos, booking, every single thing about this pay-per-view was fucking awful, except Bob Backlund and Doc Hendricks. Take that in, Bob Backlund, Doc Hendricks. Fuck you, King of the Ring, 1995. One more time! Thank God! Before we get out of here, where can everyone catch you, Matt?
You can catch me, as always, on Twitter at The Perfect Tenant. You can log on to unionsmack.bigcartel.com, pick up an official t-shirt from all of Travis's shows, and completelynovel.com, where you can purchase a copy of my book, The Undertaker, A Trip Down Death Valley. God, I'm tired.
I feel like we just went down Death Valley, honestly.
Oh, God.
There's
I want to sleep for a week after watching and reviewing this.
Matt's going to hibernate for a week, but there's light at the end of the tunnel because the next one, In Your House 2 Lumberjacks, is one of my biggest guilty pleasure pay-per-views of all time. And Matt, I think you're going to come away with this one in a much different place. And I cannot wait to get your thoughts on In Your House 2. Until next time, follow me on Twitter at TheBigTMD. Hit that red button right down below. Subscribe. All the goodness, retro gaming, pro wrestling, and metal podcast. Terry Bollea is bullshit. Everything in between. Unismack.bigcartel.com. Like Matt said, catch me on the Monday Night Melee, Broken Optics on YouTube. Until next week, the Summer of Terror tour. I'm so flustered from the shit show. Don't ever watch this. Cheerio, mates.